director of the engineering science director here at ARO, and I'm always pleased to do this presentation because of about 35 years ago, a long time now, I was a proud member of ASEE when I was on staff with Notre Dame. And I apologize for not being able to be there in person. As you know, the federal government has implemented fairly stringent restrictions on conference attendance, and so for me to fly up there would take a long time to get approved, if I could get it approved. So I've got to do this by teleconference. So let's go to my slide. The first slide is just the usual stuff, but I do want to point out that we do have funding in all of our 50 states, but we don't have it evenly distributed, and you probably are not surprised to see that a number of states have more funding than others, and that's probably because they have more research universities and more research. Let's go to the second slide, please. This is a different, well, it's an important slide for me to brief because unlike AFOSR and ONR, all of our funding, all of the Army basic research funding does not go to ARO. It actually is divvied up at the Assistant Secretary of the Army level. So we don't have that privilege. Most of the 6-1 money, most of our ASEE money goes to the Army Material Command, and it is transferred to the Research and Development Command, ARDECOM. ARDECOM consists of all kinds of ARDECs, Research and Development and Engineering Centers, and they tend to be focused on particular commodities. So if you look at the white one, for instance, it says tank and automotive ARDEC, and they're totally concerned, almost totally concerned with vehicles, tanks, Humvees. The Army has an astounding number of just big diesel engines and trucks. So that's what they do. And the next one over on the left is the Native Soldier Center. And they're totally concerned with the stuff that the soldier carries, eats, wears, that kind of stuff. And I could go through the rest of the list. But you can see that these are all fairly applied commands, and they have relatively little 6-1, that is basic research funding, because they're more applied. The Army Research Laboratory, on the other hand, which ARO is part of, is a command that spans the scope of science across all of the ARDECs. So we're providing the underlying science that is going to enable the future for the ARDECs and for the Army of the future. That's our kids. And ARO, which is part of the Army Research Lab, and we'll get to that in a minute, is ARL's conduit. It's the primary entree for universities to influence and to develop new and exciting research that we may not have ever anticipated. Normally when I give this brief, I can't do it because of my teleconference. I have a laser pointer, and I point out that laser was developed by under the Joint Service Electronics Program by Charles Towns, and the Army had no requirement for that. They wouldn't know what to do with it. And yet now it's ubiquitous across the battlefield, and that's the kind of science that ARO is supposed to be looking for. I go to the next slide, and we'll spend a lot of time on this. This is another one of these we love org charts. This is a picture of the current, well, actually outdated now, the organization, the Army Research Laboratory. The director, Tom Russell, he used to be the director of AFOSR, so it's kind of interesting that he's now at ARO. are little pictures where it says Army Research Office in the middle of the right side. But the important thing here is that we have 6 in-house research organizations, directorates, that are doing primarily in-house research for the Army, basic research and applied research. And we support the activities of those 6 activities, and I'll put that in the next slide. Next slide, the one that says changing the paradigm. This might be a new slide for many of you because on the other slide I briefly before, or similar slide. I want to talk about this because ARL, and therefore ARO, have been operating on kind of a new paradigm. On the left, it says S&P campaign plan. One of the things that we've been trying to do within ARL is to break down the directorate structure, and specifically the stovepiping that occurred, because ARL was actually formed by moving existing laboratories and saying, okay, you're now an organization. So you see we have a number of what we call campaign plans, and these are very detailed plans for where ARL plans to go in the future. So there's the human sciences, information sciences, science for lethality and protection, and sciences for maneuver. And then there are the supporting campaigns which kind of cross those orders, computation science, computer sciences, and assessment and analysis. But I want to point out that ARL has elected, widely I think, of course I'm biased, to have a totally independent extramural basic research campaign, which is run by ARO. All these campaigns can be found, a very detailed document can be found on the ARL website, www.arl.army.mil. And I should have put that on the slide. I actually stole the slide, but I looked at it. On the right side, I thought this slide is kind of interesting because these are changes from last year. On the right slide, we have a new initiative across ARL called the Open Campus Business Model. And the idea here is to break down the barriers that will begin, that inhibit collaboration between businesses, universities, and our laboratories. Last year, we had about 500, mostly universities, but also business folks, who actually work at the Army Research Laboratory at the Delphi campus, just north of Washington. And what we were able to do is to change the security posture in such a way that even foreign nationals could come and work and collaborate, and as well as U.S. citizens, and collaborate with ARL SMEs. And that's really what that is there. We are definitely committed to trying to collaborate because we recognize that all the world's expertise is not within our laboratory, and so we want to collaborate and learn and work with you all. And so that's also on the ARO website. Lots of discussion about that. Next slide, please. This is all these wiring diagrams. This is how ARO is set up. We have 3 directorates. I manage the engineering sciences directorate. But we have 4 directors, one of which doesn't do science. They're kind of our support directors. But we have the physical sciences directorate. We have the engineering sciences directorate and the information sciences directorate. I want to point out that, of course, as a former ASEE member in PhD in aerodynamics, that not all of the engineering research is in the engineering sciences directorate. And you might find, for instance, physics doing photonics in an electronics department at the university. And we really have strongly tried to increase the amount of collaboration between each division and between each program manager, because we feel that multidisciplinary research, whether it's in the Murray program, which we heard earlier, or in our single investigator program, is enhanced when we try to improve our collaboration. Okay, so next slide, please. This is a long slide, and I'm not going to read every bullet. ARO really believes the first step is to utilize the vast intellectual capital of our nation's universities. And we really strongly believe that that is a key role that the Army Research Office plays. And in particular, that first bullet, that create and exploit scientific opportunities for revolutionary new Army capabilities. For a long time, the Army, I only speak for the Army, and I can't really speak for the Army, a lot of our S&P were revolved around support for the current force. We were in Iraq, we were in Afghanistan. And the primary organization that was trying to look at where the Army should be going in 20, 25, 30 years was the Army Research Office. And so we feel, and we're supported by, in fact, by the Chief of Staff of the Army, that is the key role that the Army Research Office plays. We should be looking for revolutionary new things, paradigm-shifting things that are going to leapfrog the Army, the future Army, in the future. Well, what did I say? But in addition, of course, we try to drive science to develop solutions to existing needs. It should be, but most of our effort should be, and is, on looking at those revolutionary new Army capabilities. And the other one I probably should have put in red, except this is, of course, a can slide, was the one that says education and train the future destiny workforce, and that's what you all do. I'm surprised when I look certainly in my field, at the number of executives in companies, folks in universities who are performing research and the like, were supported by the Army Research Office years ago. I'm kind of fortunate to have been here 30 years, so I get to see that. Next slide, please. This is the obligatory. Our program in the middle of this slide shows our basic research trusts. These are essentially our divisions. On the left, these are the new S&T campaigns. You can see how they map pretty well onto our divisions. At the same time, there's an organization with the Army called TRADOC, Training, Research and Development Command, and they have what they call their lines of effort. And you can see they're also mapped on there. The ARO and ARL are particularly well mapped into the directions that that ARCTIC, the TRADOC, and the ARO and campaigns are going. And again, you can see that detailed on the ARO website. Next slide, please. I'm not going to read all of this. We get lots of guidance. That's all those things at the bottom are all the guidance that we get from the Pentagon, from the top levels of the Army, etc. And we're mapped on pretty close, but really this one is the slide is to remind me the ARO program manager, as well as I think the AFOSR program manager and the O&R program manager, has a foot in two camps. He or she is supposed to be looking out in his or her scientific area to find new and exciting directions that might have potential DOD applications. So you've got to understand where the cutting edge of science is, as well as you need to be able to understand what in our case, what the Army could use these for. And again, like the laser, that was nobody thought of target designation, for instance, when the laser came out. In fact, the laser came out is really just amplification. The now, of course, is, like I said, ubiquitous across the battlefield. ways that we can support research, and this slide kind of, when we go from the left to the right, it goes from things that are really basic research to things that are a little bit more applied. The single investigative programs is what most folks believe ARO does. That's the $120,000 a year for 3 or 4 years program at the university. And this is our pride and joy, because this is where exciting new research programs come. The University Research Initiative program, as described previously, it consists of 3 different programs, actually. A multidisciplinary University Research Initiative program. We expect that the broad agency announcement for that will come out shortly. It's always kind of, I've made this comment at this, in this venue before. I can't tell you what the topics are because they're not released yet. So this meeting comes at an awkward time. The DURIP program, the Defense University Research Initiative program, where we put instrumentation into American universities to support research for DOE, and the Presidential Early Career Program, PK, where we put a significant amount of money on individual researchers who are relatively young in their careers and recognize their capabilities. And they actually received this in the White House, and it's a cool thing. As we move along, we have some university-affiliated research centers who are principally the Institute for Soldier and Internet Technology at MIT and the Institute for Creative Biology at UC Santa Barbara. We don't expect that we will have any more, and in fact, that $30 million has been significantly reduced in FY15. We have a small program at University Centers of Excellence, which is also being greatly reduced. And then we have some collaborative technology alliances, typically one that is always led by an industry partner with university participants, and programs also being reduced. And finally, of course, along the bottom, we've got the in-house program of research, which we're very proud of. So the final slide discusses each of these programs, so I don't really need to go into it much, but I'd be happy to take questions. I want to, and I wish I had the foresight to put this slide in, but I didn't know I was going to make this briefing until late last week. The most important thing for a faculty member to do who's interested in submitting a proposal to ARO, or for that matter, I think I can speak for my colleagues at ASO and ONR, is to make prior contact with a program manager in one of our organizations. It is rare in my 30 years of experience here at ARO that I can, and add 20, 25 years, something like that, as a program manager. It's very rare that a proposal comes in totally cold and is successful. And part of that is because we have a very extensive peer review as well as internal review process for each proposal. And so when I talk with a colleague from the university who might be interested in sending a proposal, it is very helpful, I think, for them to hear me say, well, that's fine, but have you talked to so-and-so, and that so-and-so might be in university, because I know who's doing what in my particular field, or it might be someone who's in one of the DOD labs. So trying to coordinate, trying to ensure that there's no duplication, but also that we're building on each other. And I think that's where a ARO program manager is particularly effective and actually be part of their job. And so I strongly urge your program managers, your university faculty who might be interested in submitting a proposal to make contact with an ARO program manager. And just like my colleague said before, we have a website, www.aro.army.mil. And from there you can see our programs, and in particular you can access our new broad agency announcement that talks about the research fronts and the research directions that ARO is interested in going. And so with that, I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you. I'm done.
Thank you, Dr. Doligalski.